So, a lot of you want to know, how do I get a green card? I get this question almost every day. It's one of the top 5 questions in my practice. Everyone wants to know, how do I get a green card? I mean, I understand why it's an important question, because I know that for a foreigner, getting a green card is really important, because a green card allows a foreigner to live and work in the U.S. without fear of being deported or violating any immigration rules. So how do I get a green card? Well, today I'm going to break down for you some ways to get a green card. About 5 ways. I'll start with the less popular ways to get a green card and then work my way up to family-based immigration, which is a popular way to get a green card, especially through marriage, which is my main area of practice, marriage-based green card. So I will talk about that last, but I'm going to start from number 5 way to get a green card. All right? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Ify. My channel is created to provide tips and tools to help immigrants succeed in their immigration process. I talk about immigration law updates. I answer questions such as this on my channel. So if you're interested in this type of content, or if you just want to hear my voice, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I'll be posting weekly videos, so you don't want to miss that, okay? All right, so number 5, how to get a green card. Number 5 is diversity visa, okay? Diversity visa. What is a diversity visa, and how does that lead to getting a green card? Well, every year there's a random selection in different countries, not every single country in the world. There are some countries that are banned. I know Nigeria is probably on the banned list for applying for diversity visas, but if you are in a country that qualifies and you're able to check online and enter into the lottery, that's one way to get a green card. If you get selected, your family will get called. You would have to submit the application online, probably through the NVC, the consulate process, and submit all your forms and get a green card that way. So a diversity visa is one of the easy ways to get a green card if you happen to be picked. You don't have to rely on any petitioner or any U.S. relative or anything like that. You just apply and get picked, okay? That's number 5. So number 4 way to get a green card is through refugee or asylum status. Now, it's not that straightforward. You can't just get a refugee or asylum status. You have to actually qualify for that status. So how does one qualify for a refugee or asylum status? Well, first of all, it depends on whether the person trying to apply is in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. If you are in the U.S. and you are afraid to return to your country because of fear of persecution, because of your race, your religion, your social affiliations, maybe if you are gay, or if you are in a political party, or just something of that nature, that you are afraid of imminent death or some type of, persecution, like going to jail or just something. If you can prove that to the U.S. CIS, I guess, or just to the U.S. in general, you'll be able to get your asylum status. And then after you get your asylum status, within a year of having that, you can then transition to having a green card, okay? So that's one of the ways. It's not a very popular way because, like I said, you have to qualify first for the refugee or asylum. It's not an automatic type of thing, okay? You don't need a petitioner for this way to get a green card. You just simply need to qualify for your refugee or asylum status and then move on to getting a green card. All right, another way to get a green card that does not involve a petitioner is VAWA Self-Petition, okay? VAWA Self-Petition is kind of linked to marriage-based green card, But in this situation, the foreigner is married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident spouse and maybe wanted to apply to adjust status, but for whatever reason, the U.S. citizen spouse or permanent resident spouse becomes abusive, okay? The spouse either physically, financially, emotionally. Abuse is not just physical, like someone is punching you or something. It's not just that. If they're not, maybe you don't have any means of financial support and your U.S. citizen spouse is not providing such support, or they're using money as a way to control and manipulate you, or just emotional abuse, that's going to be something that you can use to self-petition for your green card without the help of the petitioner. So that's number 3 way to get a green card. I started from the bottom because I wanted to work my way up to the most common way to get a green card. I talk about it all the time on my channel. So I just wanted to let you know the other ones that you probably haven't heard of and that you may qualify for. Okay, number 5, if you're just joining me, was diversity visa. Number 4, refugee and asylum status to green card holder. And then number 3 is VAWA, which is a person married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident spouse who has been abused physically, emotionally, or financially, and can prove such abuse. That person can file to get the green card. All right, so number 2, we're getting to more, nuanced territory. So number 2 way to get a green card is through employment, okay? Through your employer. If you are employed somewhere and your employer is in the U.S., maybe you were working at one of the branches overseas or something, and you get transferred to the U.S. branch, you would have to file to get your H-1B visa, which can then lead to a green card after certain requirements are met, okay? So employment, definitely a big one, especially when we're dealing with students, people who are on F1 visas transitioning out of school. They're always, concerned about, well, can I stay in the U.S. some more without going to more school? Well, yes, if you're able to get an employer to petition for you and you get your work visa, you'll be able to live here just on that work visa, and then after that you can apply to adjust your status, okay? So that's one of the ways. All right, so under employment visa, I'm just going to take some time to tell you the different categories in there, because I know a lot of you watching me are interested in knowing about employment visas or how to go about the process or how you can even qualify. Some of you, I know I've talked to some people who don't have typical jobs or jobs they think could qualify, but I know that there's a category on here for unskilled workers. So you never know. Just speak to an immigration attorney, speak to someone about your particular case, and you might find out that you have options, okay? Under employment-based visa, there are different categories like the EB1, which is for people like researchers, people with extraordinary abilities. There's the EB2 category for doctors. So if you are a physician and you're outside of the US and you're watching this, if you are affiliated with a hospital or an employer or somebody who can file a petition for you and bring you in to do work, especially now in COVID, I know that there's been some restrictions and delays with work visas specifically, but for physicians and people in the healthcare profession, there's some exceptions available for you. So look into that, contact me. My information, like I said, is always in my video or in the description or in my bio, okay? I'll be happy to talk to you about that. All right. Yeah, what else we got here? We have skilled workers, professionals. This is a category for people if you went to a 4-year degree college, you have your bachelor's or master's, you can apply under this category. EB4 category is for religious workers. I'll go into that in another video about how to qualify for religious worker category. It's a little different from the typical work visa, all right? But it is a form of work visa for people who are into, if you're a pastor or something like that, and you've been affiliated with your US-based church for at least 2 years, you could qualify for that. So the qualifications are just different. So I'm going to just make a whole video for religious worker visa. It's a employment-based category, and it can ultimately lead to your green card, which ultimately leads to US citizenship, okay? All right, and then there's the EB5 category. I'm sure many of you have heard of this category. People always talking about it because it requires a lot of money to invest. This is the investor employment visa. It's pretty much if you are an entrepreneur and you have business and you're able to invest at least like $1 million or something of that nature, and you create employment for a certain amount of people in a certain area. There's just different requirements for that. If you want to know more about anything specifically I've spoken about, just reach out to me and I'll tell you the details. But yeah, just generally, that's just the different employment-based categories that could ultimately lead to a green card, okay, if you qualify for these, okay? All right, well, if you have any questions about employment-based immigration, just reach out to me. Like I said, I can go into details about all the different categories. It's just a lot to say in one video. I just wanted to quickly tell you the different ways you can get a green card, and then we can go from there, okay? All right, so number one on my list after employment-based is family-based immigration. Just like with employment-based, you need a family member, a relative, to petition on your behalf to the USCIS so that you can get a green card. You just, the only thing you need in this category is to be related to a US citizen. And now, not just any relationship, because not like an uncle or an aunt or like a distant or grandma or something like that. It has to be either a spouse, a parent, a child, a sibling of a US citizen. The child could be 21 or older, or just a child younger than 21. If the child is married or unmarried, that will determine like the category, or the time that's gonna take to process the whole thing, okay? Whether the child is 21 and over and then married, those types of things matter. So if you're in that type of situation and you're thinking of applying, whether you're a US citizen parent and you have an adult child, just contact me. I can help you with that process so you can understand what it takes to actually do that for your adult child, okay? If you have a sibling, you're a US citizen and you have a sibling, you can actually apply for your sibling. This category is really, a lot of people don't speak on it just because of the time that it takes. That's just the only reason. It takes about 10 to 13 years to wait for this category, but it is available. If you just got naturalized and you have a brother or sister who's not currently in the US and you hope to help them adjust, or I guess apply for a green card, because you can't adjust from outside of the country. So you hope to help them apply for a green card. You can totally file an I-130 and petition for them and fill out all the paperwork, provide all the supporting documents to prove that they are your sibling, like a birth certificate and different things like that. And that will just be in there. So it may take that long, but 10, 13 years, you never know. It may be shorter. You never really know what the laws, what will happen, because as laws change, timelines change. So don't be discouraged from applying, because it's definitely a way to get a green card if a sibling applies. My only concern with filing for your sibling is that, for one, your sibling can't adjust status, because since it takes a long time for visas to become available for this category, your sibling's gonna have to be waiting in their country of origin. So you can't wait in the US for that. And then, what was the second thing about the siblings? Yeah, well, you can't wait in the US for that, for one. That's just one thing. So it's going to be a consulate process. The sibling is going to be in their home country, and you will apply, do your I-130 petition, and they will get notified and just kind of be on hold and waiting until a visa becomes available. And then they can go through the whole consulate process and get their, fill out the forms and get their immigrant visas and then come here. Oh yes, the only thing I was gonna say, another thing, other than the fact that it takes time, if your sibling is in a country that is under the travel ban from earlier this year, February 2020, that ban that put some countries like Sudan, Nigeria, Eritrea, I think, there's 3 others. Actually, there's 12 total, but in February, the Trump administration added 6 more. So if your sibling happens to be in any of these countries, unfortunately, they may not be able to get an immigrant visa, at least while the ban is on. We're hoping that the ban will be lifted because these countries that were banned have several, I guess, expectations or several hurdles. I don't know what word to use right now, but they just have several things they have to do to have that ban lifted. So if it's going to take 10, 13 years to wait, you apply and you just wait. Hopefully between that time it'll be lifted. That's an option. But for right now, there's just that ban. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are applying for a sibling, okay? All right. Well, for permanent residents, your list is a little bit shorter. The amount of relatives you can apply for is limited. For a permanent resident, you can petition for your spouse, your child, and your unmarried son or daughter. Meaning that if your child is over 21 and married, just like in the US citizen scenario, you can apply for them. It'll be a longer wait, just like with even the US citizen unmarried child or unmarried son or daughter. So yeah, so you can, but you can still, it's still under the permissible ways to get a green card. So that's available for you, all right? All right, so to recap, 5 ways to get a green card. Number 1, family-based immigration. Number 2, employment-based immigration. Number 3, through VAWA, which is marriage to a U.S. citizen that did not work because of abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse. That works for VAWA. Okay, number 4, we have refugee or asylum status that leads to a green card. And number 5, we have the diversity visa, which is a random selection to just get a green card straight out of your country, just like that, okay? So those are the ways you can get a green card. If you fit into any of these categories, congrats, you can apply for a green card. This is provided that you don't have any other things that could make you inadmissible, like criminal records, or maybe you didn't pass the public charge test, or you didn't pass the health test. There are different tests and steps involved in immigrating into the U.S. So always contact an immigration attorney to talk about your particular case. And remember that the content on my YouTube channel, my Instagram, are just attorney advertising and not legal advice, okay? Make sure you book a consultation to speak to me ASAP if you feel like you fit into any of these categories and you are ready to start applying for your immigration benefit. Let's get it, all right? In my next video, I'm going to talk about religious workers, how to fit into that category, exactly what you need to do, the requirements for that. So if you're a pastor or you work for a religious organization and you're wondering if you could fit into a religious worker category, stay tuned subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all in my next video. All right, bye-bye.